Waterfall, the CCW podcast.
Hello everybody and welcome to another exciting episode of Waterfall, the water saving podcast brought to you by CCW, the Consumer Council for Water, where we are the voice for consumers of water, i.e. everyone in England and Wales. In the hot seat today you have me, Cath, and I am joined, as always, by Karen.
Hello, Cath.
Hi, Karen. And on board to keep the ship steady, we have producer Tom.
Hi, Cath. Hi, Karen. Great to be here.
As always. So today our news is just a very quick plug for a new podcast that we're doing, which is a slightly different tone to this one, I think, isn't it, Tom and Karen?
Yes, it's called Droughtcast. And you can find it just by searching Droughtcast on any of your podcast providers. And it's more of a succinct news headline-based show. It's shorter in format, where it's all about the latest news on the water resource situation in England and Wales. We get external experts, we have CCW experts, and the first edition is out now. So just search Droughtcast wherever you listen to podcasts. We'll put a link down below in the show notes as well. And be sure to subscribe. And every 2 weeks, we'll be giving you the very latest on the situation from the people who know best.
Oh, exciting. So informative news coming out through Droughtcast. As Tom says, you can search that, Droughtcast. And you can search us, Waterfall. So email your questions, suggestions to podcast@ccwater.org.uk. And you can find us on Instagram and Twitter just by searching Waterfall.
That's it. Don't complicate it, just by searching that. And Karen, today's episode, we've got some good guests on, right?
Yes, I think this is going to be a really interesting episode. Cath and I have spent quite a lot of time talking about water butts in past episodes. And this time we're going to be seeing how they can be used much more extensively to resolve problems that all wastewater companies are facing at the moment in the management of surface water runoff. So, it's going to be quite an interesting insight into what one company is doing to address that problem.
Definitely jam-packed, full of news. It's amazing what you can do with a water butt. So without further ado, I think it must be time to... Tom?
Bring on the guests!
CCW, passionate about championing the best interests of everyone who uses water, now and in the future.
So we're joined today by Nicole McNab, Strategic Comms and Partnership Delivery Lead, and Nick Mills, who is Head of Clean Rivers and Seas Task Force from Southern Water. And we're going to talk to you today about a very interesting project where you're trialling water butts and planters. But let's start at the beginning. What's the issue that you're addressing with this?
So really the issue is around storm overflows and too much surface water or excess water getting into our sewers and causing storm overflows to activate to prevent flooding. What we're trying to do here is slow the flow of water from downpipes, from roofs where water lands. Two big contributions for surface water are from roads and roofs. And to tackle the roof runoff, we're looking at effectively quite low cost interventions that can go on people's downpipes or a business downpipe, which takes the water, it attenuates or slows the flow of that water as it returns back to the sewer. And that means that the peak flows that we see in our sewer are much reduced. And in those scenarios, we don't need to use our storm overflows to protect properties from flooding, because the water gets to us and gets to our system and treatment works over a much longer period of time, so it's slower.
Oh, that's interesting. So it sounds like a kind of simple solution to solve what is, it's a hot topic in the news at the moment and on everybody's minds. We know people are really keen to protect the environment, and part of that story is storm overflows. So it sounds like this is heading towards that. Yeah,
it certainly is. We fully accept that storm overflows are unacceptable to people. But it is a complex issue. It's not just about building bigger and bigger pipes and bigger treatment works at the end of the system. If you think about it, we own the bottom of the funnel and we're the conduit of that water and we treat it. But we don't have a huge influence on the top of the funnel. And actually that really is what influences what gets in the pipe in the first place. So with our project, with my team, we're looking at how to influence that. and on infrastructure and assets we don't actually own. So what we've been doing with water butts has been really exciting, because we weren't sure at the start of the project how people would accept, even though we're giving these things away for free and installing them at our cost. We've seen a fantastic uptake. People get it, they understand the issue. It's a great way of us engaging with customers outside our bill or potentially a problem. So that it's a really good opportunity there. And actually it educates them on the issue and the fact that they can do something about it with us. So we were expecting a 20% uptake, was what the experts and some academics told us in terms of how we would get this into the community. And we've seen 70% plus. So people have really adopted this. And in the catchments, particularly one catchment on the Isle of Wight, where we've now got a lot of data, it's been really successful at managing the water. So before we deployed these water butts, these leaky water butts, so they're not just a standard water butt, they let water out slowly for the top half. We've deployed over 150 of these devices into a small village called Haven Street on the Isle of Wight. The storm overflow in that area activated about 30 times a year before we did these interventions. Mm-hmm. Since we've put these water butts in, we've seen a huge reduction in storm overflows. We're expecting a typical year just to have 7 spills in a year. In fact, last year it was as low as 5. So we've seen over a 70% reduction in spills by deploying these water butts. And what's more, this is much cheaper than some of the grey end of pipe solutions that we would traditionally see. So we estimate that grey solution would have been a big tank, would have cost us £150,000, and we'd have to buy some land on top of that to build it in. The water butts and planters in the village cost us less than £20,000.
Oh, wow. So it's environmentally friendly, it's cost friendly, it's a benefit to people because you can actually use it. Something you touched on there, Nick, you said they're a slow drain water butt, I think. So I've got a water butt that sits in my garden. It's basically just a big tub that collects some water. But I think if that's a passive or standard water butt, what's the difference between that and smart water butts and slow water butts?
I can answer that question. So it turns out there's many more butts than you think there would be. There's a whole variety of them. So with the passive water butts, or the standard water butts, is exactly as you say. It would fill up maybe a 200 litre capacity, and then the next day there would be no capacity to be able to take any more rainfall. It would take a manual intervention for someone to go open the tap and use the water. So what we're trialling is, are there different ways that we can kind of use what is a very acceptable household product that people readily adopt and are fairly cheap, and see if we can try some different models. So the slow drain water butts is where there's a hole around about halfway up, and then it's connected to a kind of a smaller pipe that goes back into the drain. The idea there is, for a 200 litre water butt, the bottom 100 litres would be for use for good water efficiency measures in the garden, for cars, however you want to use it. But then the top 100 litres would slowly drain back into the system over around about a 5-hour period. And it just slows the flow of water that's hitting the drains all at once. So it doesn't require any intervention by customers, but it still gives a good amount of water that customers can still continue to use from that water efficiency perspective. A smart water butt is, it's the typical term you hear, smart. You think, what does that even mean? It essentially has kind of a solar panel, a kind of intelligent connector to it that will speak to the cloud and be able to see when a rainfall event is coming, and be able to look at kind of the Met Office or other metrics and say, okay, a rainfall event's coming. This is how much capacity is currently in the water, but we'll drain it down to be able to take as much capacity as required for that rainfall event. Super snazzy. The difference is it is mostly cost, quite a huge disparity of cost. So what we're doing is we're trialing the passive water butts because people still want them. They're comfortable with them. The slow drain water butts and the smart water butts. And we're really testing a couple of things. One is, which of those technologies, and I say technologies, quite boasting with it, but which of those work from a drainage perspective, but also a water efficiency perspective. But also, do customers want them? are customers keen to have them? Are they keen to have them in their garden or they're outside the front of their house, for etc.? So everything we're trying to do with this water butt trial and all the other trials that we're doing through our Pathfinder projects are all testing the kind of the engineering and what works, but also what works for our customers. Do they like them? How do they want them to be? Will they adopt them? What's the cost difference? And ultimately, what would be more efficient and responsible investing if we were to roll out these schemes? But what I think is really exciting as well is we've got the ability to talk to customers about the whole water cycle. The more that we can stop this rainwater getting into the system and actually diverting it back to the environment or being able to use it for our gardens, etc., it means, one, we can just use water more responsibly, but also we can get this water back into natural aquifers, back into the environment for habitats, etc. And then we start having that conversation of how water, from the moment it kind of comes down from the rain and then gets all the way back to us, back to the rainfall another time, how that all links up. So this is a really kind of exciting way to be able to link all those different internal departments and also those external conversations with our customers.
I suppose the good thing is that there is a clear benefit for the customer as well in this. You know, they're potentially going to be saving water and therefore saving money on their water bill. They're getting access to water that they wouldn't otherwise have had access to maintain their gardens and outside spaces. So you can see a clear benefit for both company and customer.
Absolutely. I think I've told Cath this story another time. I was once off water. I was unfortunate to have a water supply issue in my area. And it is incredibly confronting to use bottled water to put into kind of the back of toilet cisterns or to use it for other measures. And the ability to use a water butt in those, unfortunately, that's quite an extreme circumstance, but even just so the day-to-day examples of watering plants is a resource that you really start to recognise how important it is that we protect and look after. So absolutely, we don't want to take the water away from customers. We want customers to have it more, their gardens to have it more availability without having to use the extra cost and then also putting the strain on the availability of clean drinking water.
And as Cath and I heard from an interview that we had with a representative of the Royal Horticultural Society, your plants actually prefer rainwater to tap water.
I think it's the pH levels, isn't it? It's much better. I went to a bee farm recently in Devon. It was a great day out. I don't live anywhere near there. I recommend it, but it's not even in our area. But they had signs everywhere about how they were using rainwater, and it was better for all the planting there, and it was therefore better for the bees and the pollination. So absolutely, rainwater is essential, and at the moment we don't always see it as vital as it is.
Can I ask you how you've targeted the areas that you've been doing the projects in?
So that we've chosen 6 Pathfinder areas. So these are large-scale pilots, which are trying to understand more catchment-based source control measures to manage water getting into the sewers, basically. So they are deliberately diverse in their geography, but also the sorts of makeups of the catchment, the types of town, the age. So we're working in Kent, we're working in Whitstable, Deal, Margate. We're also working in East Sussex in a village called Fairlight. And we're working on the Isle of Wight extensively, and in parts of North Hampshire where we actually have groundwater. But that's probably a question for later. We deliberately want to learn as much as possible, as quickly as possible, because we're spending tens of millions now on this project. Water butts is one component of a lot of interventions we're deploying to manage storm overflows. But as we get into AMP8, so 2025 to 2030, we're going to be spending hundreds of millions on this problem. And to solve, we're very much committed to solving this issue, but we must work out quickly what's effective and what's efficient. So these Pathfinder areas have been chosen deliberately to have diversity in their problem and root cause, and also the solution base. So we are deploying these types of household measures, so the water butts, the planters, the smart water butts, in Whitstable, in Deal, on the Isle of Wight as well, where you've got the surface water problem challenge. So that's how we've broadly done it. But as we get into this next investment period, much of the investment will be prioritised around where we've got shellfish waters or known environmental impact from storm overflows.
And you mentioned, Nick, that the take-up has been fantastic. That 70% is huge, and that you come and install them. Are they difficult to install, or is it quite straightforward?
No, they're very simple. If you've got, some small DIY skills, I'd say that it's pretty easy to do. If you're happy to put a shelf up in your house, I'd say that you would be qualified to do this. If you've got plastic gutters, it's very easy. All the bits are available from your big garden stores. Obviously, we're doing it because we want to make it as easy as possible for people to say yes. But if people wanted to do it themselves, they can. I've done mine. I put 2 water butts on my house, and I've turned them into slow flow water butts. And yeah, as Nicole said, there's a joy of using that rainwater. And I do go and check in, see if it's filled up when it's rained, and make sure it's draining back slowly, properly. So it's become a bit of a hobby at home.
Checking the water butt.
But she's a childminder, so she's turned it into a part of the childminder. So the kids have now got little watering cans, so they use the water butts as part of the. So I feel very proud after all the abuse I got from the start. My wife, she's now incorporated it into her daily rhythm.
It's become an educational piece.
Exactly.
And what we're going to do is we're going to make it as easy for people as possible. So we're going to create a video. We'll also create a little guide as well. So just kind of help the community know how to do it. But I had a go at it myself. My abilities to even put up a shelf are very limited. And it was super easy. So it's I can vouch it's doable. You don't have to be an engineer, and it makes it very, very accessible for a lot of people. And people who have their water butts already installed can easily retrofit and convert their water butts to be slow drain as well. That's also a very easy process. So people who already have one but want to do the slow drain version, it's not a problem. It's very easy.
Yeah,
we'll help with that.
And it's not a new thing. There's lots of guidance out there. There's a great website called slowtheflow.net, and there's loads and loads of examples of how to do slow the flow type measures, but also including the slow flow water butt.
This podcast is brought to you by CCW, the voice for water consumers.
So actually, for listeners who've already got a water butt and think this sounds interesting, we might not be going for the smart water butt with the AI and weather forecasting abilities, but we can do that slow flow, get the water out when we're halfway full part.
Yeah, the smart water butts are great, but I think the smart water butts will probably be deployed on much larger roofs where the economics make sense. Yeah. But we are wanting to learn how effective they are and where they're appropriate.
And how effective is it? I know you were saying how it really has genuinely stopped overflows in one of your areas. Have you seen as that wider? You're out in Deal as well and all the other regions, and has it affected water consumption?
Don't know whether we've got enough data to confirm water consumption, but there is some research out there, which I'm sure you've probably been involved with, that show you do see some reduction with water butts being deployed. I think we'll have to come back, and we've currently got a PhD working with the University of Exeter, who will publish a lot of these results in journals. So everything we're doing, we'll be sharing publicly, and giving it the academic rigor that it needs. So all of that will be in those research papers when they come out. In terms of the wider activity, as I said, this is one of a 5-step process, or 5 activities. One of the first things we look to do is optimize the existing assets. So not necessarily making them work beyond the minimum permit requirements. So can we enhance how their things are controlled? Because one of the things that we've got is a very passive network. So water flows downhill in a sewer, gets pumped up, flows downhill, and gets treated. With new technology and new monitoring becoming more cost effective, we can actually control the network in a smarter way. So we can hold water back in the network when there's capacity there and let it go slowly, much like a water bus, but under the ground in infrastructure we already own. So that's one of the things that we're deploying later this year in Whitstable, and there's certainly a lot of other scenarios where that's applicable. We're also looking at how we could utilise existing treatment works and pumping stations differently, and actually asking the environmentalists to change the permit slightly so it can favour a more dynamic operation, and that will have savings in spills. We think there's around 30% reduction in spills just from those sorts of enhancement and optimisation type works in the Pathfinder areas. So that's really encouraging. We're also looking at removing where you've already got surface water separated from our sewers. So around the 1960s, new housing developments would actually build a foul sewer and a surface water sewer. So you've already actually got the roads and the roofs connected to a separate pipe system. But what we've found in many cases is that separate surface water system, as it goes past the curtilage of that development, is plumbed into the combined. So we've gone to the point of separating it, but now we need to redirect that water into the environment where possible. We've found many examples of those scenarios, and there could be an awful lot of water when it rains. So redirecting surface water where it's already separated is going to be a big part of our program. Then we're looking at big roofs. So, talking about warehouses, schools, big care homes. Those roofs can contribute huge amounts of water. One care home we looked at on the Isle of Wight, it's not a huge one, but in a reasonable amount of rainfall, we get 5 tons of water come off the roof and straight into our sewer in a rush.
Wow.
And it comes off very quickly, and because it's obviously straight down vertical downpipes, it hits our sewer in a peak. So we're working hard to install planters. So they're, again, a similar type measure to a slow flow water bar. But in this case, you've got a planter that attenuates that water and looks really attractive, particularly in these more public buildings. I'll come back to that because I'm sure Nicole should want to expand on the work we've been doing with the Department for Education. But the other steps are household measures, as we talked about, but the other one is managing water that comes off the highway, the road. So the highway authority, typically the county council, or if it's unitary, it could be a city council, manage the roads, and in many cases, particularly if it's older infrastructure, the water runs off the road into the gully, into the grill that you see in the road by the pavement, and they are connected to our sewer. So all of that water comes into our sewer. We're looking at installing really attractive ways of redirecting that water naturally into the environment, into infiltration. It could infiltrate into the ground, or we could clean it with a rain garden and then return it into the environment slowly. So all these things we're exploring, and we want to work really very close partnership with the county councils, the highway authorities, to effectively deliver that together.
I think it's really great, actually, Nick, to hear from you, and I think sometimes it passes us by a little how much as a company you are doing to address these issues, and not just through, as you were saying before, building a big hole in the ground somewhere to store water. There are so many other things that are possible to do with surface water to separate it. And I love that you're going to take the findings that you're getting from these pilots and make them public. So it's not just Southern Water who benefits from it. It's actually anybody will be able to access that and, get these ideas, see what works. It's like you've done the testing and now other people can take the benefits and really push that forward to drive a nationwide solution.
For anybody that's listening to the podcast, I wonder if there are any other ways that people could potentially help with this issue. We've talked about collecting the water in rain butts and things like that, but is there anything else that you would encourage people to consider?
The root cause of all of this is too much hard standing area. So we've actually seen nationally, the statistics I've seen are that there's a 1% increase in area of hard standing or non-permeable area that doesn't let water drain through it year on year. So it was a 30% increase in 30 years. So that's what we've got to try and reverse. So anything that allows us to prevent that water from running off a hard surface and getting into ultimately the sewer is a good thing. So the good thing is modern housing generally is good. It's got soakaways, it's got rain gardens, it's got sustainable drainage features built into modern estates, and you'll probably see them. But if you've got an older housing stock, understand where your downpipe goes is probably my first question. Do you know where it goes? We want to have rainwater management, water management in people's conscience like recycling is now. Most people would be horrified if they put a glass bottle in the black bin. But I want people to have that same response to my gutter's connected to the combined sewer. That's shocking. I want that response. So, and then what they're going to do about it? People can think about soakaways, but also the big one, the really big one that I really want people to think differently about is driveway. Is your driveway permeable? Does it have a drain that then it has a soakaway on it that is non-permeable? Or dig it up and put 2 strips to park your car on, and the rest could be grass. And one of the projects we're just about to start on the Isle of Wight is a depave scheme. So we're going to, with funding from the Environment Agency, the council and us, where we've got some surface water flooding challenges. In this particular area, we've got a lot of driveways that all drain steep onto a steeply drained road. Again, all of that runs into the sewer, and we get a combination of surface water flooding and sewer flooding. So we're actually going to see if there is appetite and test the theory that if we fund depaving type initiatives, people will be up for doing it. And that we think is actually, of all the options we've addressed against the 3 agencies, council, the Environment Agency and us, we think the best use for that funding is actually to make people's driveways non-permeable. So it's the heart of the issue. So yes, there's lots of things people can do. Keep as much green space as possible. Understand where your downpipe goes. Put a water butt in. If you've got a soak away, that's even better. Your driveway, your patio. Think about those being permeable options. We must talk about nationally.
We have lots of hints and tips that I think we've put out. I think our 7 top tips, what customers can do in their community. We've put out tips of what local authorities can do and businesses can do, and that's all on our website. But that also is complementing all the work we're also doing on our assets to optimize them, all the stuff we're doing in the background, all those partnerships we're doing elsewhere. So it's all about the small changes that people can make that can make a big difference, and also just that people can play their part and people want to. I think one of the extraordinary stats that we have is that on the in Whitstable, one of our team put out a letter, I think on the 1st of May, to say we're coming to install slow drain water butts in your area. Please let us know if you're interested. As of yesterday, they'd installed 457 of them. So the appetite was mind blowing. So it's people want to do something. These next 2 years are going to be revolutionary in the industry as we learn, we understand what works, what people are willing to get involved in, what things cost, etc. But we can all do that. We can all come together, learn in our own different spaces, the local authorities can learn what's going on for them, and we can share all that learning, so that once we do hit this next AMP period, the next asset management period that starts in 2025, we're not starting from, okay, now let's really push on. We're running into it, and we're going full steam ahead. And that's what's really exciting. I think, as I said, these next 2 years are the game-changing next 2 years for the industry when it comes to storm overflows, but also how we approach and view and appreciate the importance of managing water better.
I think, Nicole, that's exactly what we try and do on Waterfall, is show people that ideas, as you say, the appetite is absolutely there. People do want to make a difference. We all care about the environment and the future of our planet and how we use the resources we've got. But equally, there's not that many of us who are prepared to collect our bath water in tubs in the garden and hold it for 6 months before using it. You know, the steps have to be simple and something that you can do in your day-to-day life. So that, and things like a water butt or a planter, they're actually no effort solutions, aren't they? Once they're in, the job's done. That's it. You're doing it, and you're doing it every day through no output of your own. So, well, I think on that positive note, we ask all of our guests, as I think you know is coming, about what your personal water use is. There is a league table. Don't be scared, but there is some pretty impressive numbers in there at the moment. So, Nick and Nicole, who would like to go first with your personal water use?
I'll go first because Nicole's got quite a number to beat, I think. I'm going to go first, and it's quite a quick answer. Is I don't have a water meter because I live in a really old house.
Have you tried a water meter calculator to guesstimate what it is, Nick?
I haven't actually, but we could do that. Well, I'll do that and I'll get back to you.
Thank you very much. It's not uncommon for the answer to be, I don't know, but I'm afraid that does mean that you go to the bottom, along with the other people who said, I don't know.
I understand. That's fine. Nicole hopefully brings the team effort up. Nicole, over to you.
Yeah, absolutely. I've even got it on my phone. I'm ready.
We love evidence.
It's in 2 parts. One, because I really like saving money. I grew up north. It's ingrained. It's in my DNA. But so as a household, there's 2 of us in the household, and we use 146 litres a day. So we're using just over 70 litres each a day.
Oh, that is good. I think that
I haven't seen the league table, so I'm hoping it's positive.
I think you're in the top quartile.
Fantastic. Yeah.
Nicole was very competitive, so she'd be disappointed.
I think we've got one person at 50 and one, I think, was it 45 or 48? But then I think you might be our third place.
That's fine. You know, I'm happy to be in the leading pack, but you know, there's always room for improvement.
Well, thank you both so much for joining us today. I have loved learning about all these, you know, great solutions that you're trialing. I love the fact that you're doing it now so that you hit the ground running in 2025, that the exploratory period is done. I love that you're sharing it. I love the collaboration that's going on. It's so many different parties involved in the solution, including us, you know, your customers, people at home, that we're part of it too.
Thank you for allowing us to come on. It's a topic that Nick and I could probably talk days about. So I'm impressed that you've managed to get it into you know, more of a listenable format. So yeah, I really appreciate your time.
What would you like Waterfall to cover next? Send your water-saving topics to podcast@ccwater.org.uk.
So that was, I thought, fascinating, Karen, hearing from Nick and Nicole there about all the work that they're doing involving people, but also councils, different nature trusts, and how it is addressing the issue of surface water in such a beneficial way. What did you think?
I was really pleased to see the level of uptake they'd had from customers, because I think people are beginning to recognise that, you know, we all have potentially a part to play in resolving some of these issues. And so I think it's great the way that they've been able to engage with local communities and as I say, get them on board. I think the other thing that I'm really pleased about is the fact that the company is willing to be very open about the results that they're having, because as a water industry, I think it's becoming increasingly important for the learnings to be captured and to be shared so that, you know, everybody has the opportunity to benefit from them.
Absolutely. And as Nicole and Nick were saying, so that we can move faster on this issue together. Well, I had lots of fun. Thanks for having me on, guys.
Of course, Cath. And, you know, again, I just want to reiterate, like we said at the start, Droughtcast. That's our new show. Waterfall is still continuing. Fear not, dear listeners, but Droughtcast is a new venture that we're quite proud of, actually. And the first episode's available now, so just search that wherever you want. Of course, you can email us, podcast@ccwater.org.uk. We're on Instagram and Twitter. Just search Waterfall Pod. And go back through the archive as well. It's mad to think that we've got more than 40 episodes of Waterfall available. And tons of great guests, so much information.
Industry award shortlisted.
Shortlisted is the key thing, yes, but there's always next year.
That's what matters. So, thank you very much for listening today. We hope that you've enjoyed it and learned lots about southern water, surface water, and water butts. So that's goodbye from me, Cath.
Goodbye from me, Karen.
And goodbye from me, producer Tom. Don't forget, Droughtcast.